Hey guys, this is Echo Sourx, and you are checking out a Mix Essentials tip and trick tutorial video for ADSR. In this video, I'm going to show you a personal trick I use all the time on my low-end instruments, my bass instruments inside of my productions, and that is the Waves R-Bass plugin or Renaissance Bass plugin. So if you've ever watched my tutorials, you know I'm not huge on doing a tutorial centered around a very specific plugin. I usually like to make it vague and open to you can do this type of thing and this compressor or this EQ. Doesn't matter what type of EQ or compressor you have, it's the idea, not the plugin. Well, unfortunately, the Waves R-Bass does something very specific and very unique. If you guys don't know about it, it's an older plugin. So when magazines or online sites make new lists of like the best plugins to get, this isn't on there because it's a little bit older, but it's still a great plugin. So I'm going to pull it up real quick. It looks like this. It's really simple and basic to use. And it does a really interesting thing, and we're going to use it on a bass track in this example. Now, I like to use the R-Bass on in two very specific situations. The first is the one we'll be looking at in this video, which is I'm trying to improve the overall perceived level of the bass, the energy of the bass in this track without EQing things and boosting frequencies that I don't want on to really muddy up the whole low end section of my track. Then the other way in which I'll use it, and I'm not going to cover this in the tutorial, but I'll touch on it now because it's pretty cool and pretty fun to do, is I use it to check the low and low mids of my productions and see how they translate to crappy listening environments like an earbud or laptop speakers. So what you can do is you can bounce out your session, load up your bounce in a new DAW session, throw on the Renaissance R-Bass on the actual 2-bus, boost some of the frequencies and see what frequencies need to be maybe boosted or brought out more in the mix. And usually these are the low mids, so it won't destroy your mix when you go back and listen on your monitors when you've used the R-Bass to kind of gauge and see where those frequencies are lacking. All right, well, in this specific example, I have a bass track that's coming from Native Instruments Massive. And it's in a key that isn't ideal for really low-end basses because it's just a pinch too high, and there's this low note that it hits in the bass line that sounds weak. That one. It's just too far out of the wavetable coming from Massive to really make a difference to the sound. So if I go to -12 for this, it changes the whole feel. And if I go to -24 again, first note, second note sounds good, third note gets lost. And if you're wondering why I don't just stick like a sub or a sine under there, well, it'll change the timbre of the sound, and I want this kind of more of aggressive, not really aggressive, but I want this more of a saw type bass, square saw type bass to come through. If I just went through here, and we can do it on oscillator 3, and I just stick a sub, the sub's gonna be at -24 anyway, so it's not gonna, right? It's still a weak note. It's just out of that range. Well, that is where a plugin like the R-Bass can come into handy. So let's listen to this little demo real quick. Okay, so the R-Bass isn't a compressor, it's not an EQ, it's something different, it's something entirely different, and it's a really unique idea. What it's going to do is it's going to, depending on how you set the controls, it's going to add harmonics over the fundamental of the frequency that you set or the frequency that's being played or coming from your instrument. So the way that Waves figure this out is that there's this phenomena that the human ear and brain is pretty good at piecing together kind of fragmented harmonics to make what we perceive as the fundamental. So what the R-Bass is doing is it's boosting frequencies, that it's adding frequencies, not boosting. I should not say boosting. The R-Bass is adding frequencies into the signal that aren't even really there to begin with. And psychoacoustically, your brain's going to be able to hear those or hear the actual fundamental a little bit clearer. So for instance, if we solo this bass and I turn this on, we'll do a full default reset. Right, so there's no different. We have out, we have a frequency, we have this middle the little intensity knob or intensity slider, and then we have this harmonic section right here, and then the output. So this is the original bass, this is the harmonics, and this is the output in gain. So if I turn the intensity up, okay, what it's saying is you can see that this output here, or in the original bass, nothing's really changing, right? But we're adding these harmonics now over the frequency of the fundamental, which is set with the slider, which we'll talk about in a second. And the gain did go up a little bit, so you can gain reduce with this gain slider. So our peak gain looks to be at about -1. So if I turn the intensity up, to about 6.5, we don't get a noticeable gain boost. Let's turn this up quite a bit. Now this would be a little bit too much, I would say. Okay, so we're peaking about right there. So what we're gonna do is turn this up to a good chunk again, and we're going to turn the gain down. So you can hear if I turn the intensity up a lot, it gets kind of buzzy, right? If I mess with the frequencies here, the higher up I go, the more of the buzz will kind of come out. So how do we use this, or how do you know what to use? Well, I'll use it in conjunction with another plugin. And just to get, you can do this with pretty much any plugin that gives you visual feedback. I'm gonna load up the FabFilter Pro Q2. We're gonna go to the default setting. And what I'm gonna do is I'm going to click on my MIDI information and see what note this is. This is a G#1. So if I open up the piano here inside of the Pro Q2 and I'll click and make a new dot here. I'm going to then go to the piano and click on to this note right here. That's the blue one, so let's get rid of the green one. Now I've created a G1. You can see here, here's the information. It's 51.913 hertz. So let's turn that off, and I'm gonna go back to the R bass. And for this, we're gonna go to a frequency, we'll go to about 50. Because that's gonna be boosting, I'm working with the fundamental of this sound. So I could leave this on the whole track, but what I like to do in this specific example where I'm losing energy on the track, I'll duplicate my track, I'll copy and paste it down, and I will just have that one note come through that's kind of weak in my mix, which happens to be this G#1. So I've just done that now. I'm gonna go back to this first track here, and I'm going to mute those two tracks. So now our bass is split up into two tracks. So let's turn off the R bass for now on the first track. We're gonna go to the second track, and we've set this to 50. We'll set it to 51, which is right around the fundamental frequency of this bass. And now when we add intensity to this, it's actually, we're gonna be more precisely targeting the harmonics that's gonna add. So let's listen to this, and I'm gonna loop it from this bass sound. Okay, and let's play that with this now together. Okay, so let's play that with the music, see how it helps. All right, I already notice a difference, a perceived difference. So let's go back and we'll turn up the intensity and turn the gain up a little bit, because it sounds like we lose a little bit of gain just because that note in the wavetable massive gets a little bit weak. All right, so that's starting to sound pretty cool. So now what we're gonna do is we're gonna pop the R bass above what we have going on here. And now I'm gonna pull up an EQ, that same EQ, and I'm gonna carve out a little bit of the frequencies in case it's adding anything I don't want. It actually sounds pretty good. So what I might do is I might boost a little bit of, with a narrow Q here, I might boost some of the lower mids. We might get some of the highs up here, but I'm going to strategically put that boost at a G1 really high above it. So now we've kind of got the R bass going in conjunction with this EQ here. So if we turn both of those off, here's what it was before. With the R bass and the Pro Q2. It's a lot more consistent tone, and let's listen to this. All right, so it's not getting lost in the mix as much, which I like, and it is a little bit loud right now, but again, that's what on the R bass, that's that gain stage that you have right there. So we also did boost some frequencies with the Pro Q2, which will also turn up the volume, so I probably need to adjust the overall slider, but you don't have to really crank the volume up. I'm not doing compression. I'm not EQing all that frequencies around that section out of the whole mix. It's just adding. The R bass is adding some harmonics to the fundamental of my sound, which my brain, or our brains will pick up on, and it'll give this perceived boost to the presence of the bass. So that sums up this video, guys. If you have any questions or comments, let me know below, and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. As always, thank you so much for checking this video out. Like I said at the beginning of the video, I'm Echo Soundworks. I'll see you guys next time.